Good evening, everybody. It's been a bit of a last minute throw together everything because technical issues. I'll put it like that, technical issues. How are we all doing this evening? It's time for another Sunday night Podding Shed chat. Phone lines are open if you want to call in. Bring that across the bottom of the screen. 07307 135 174. Be great to hear from you. Now, what have we got coming up today? Firstly, of course, I'm going to go through what I've been up to over this last week. Then, main subject for tonight that I'd like to discuss. Ian Beddoes has just scared me for a second there. Main subject, glut recipes. Like some idea for some good glut recipes. Got to say, unfortunately, I had cooked something ready to bring on into this show tonight. I didn't edit the video in time, and I've realised I've left it indoors, so I might have to run in while I've got a little video playing. And then we've got the new merchandise being launched. So let's just have a look and see if we've got anybody actually watching. It's a bring up, and oh yeah, lots of comments already coming in. So Ballycillian, good evening to you. Oracles, hello all, and one in the Veg Grower Army, hello to you. Philly SBB, hi Army, hello to you. Adrian has joined, hello to you, hope you are well. Turbo Stream, good evening from a wet Birmingham. We've got a video coming up from Turbo Stream's allotment plot a little bit later on. What else? Who else have we got? Scroll down. Ian Beddoes has joined. Hello, everyone. And then the little git got me when I saw this one saying he can't hear me. Hopefully, I did check the sound. Everything should be coming in and out nice and loud. Muddy Boots has joined. Good evening to you. Who else have we got? Allotmental has joined. Good evening, and he's off the plot. Normally leaves a little message after the event saying he's missed the show again. Graham Arnold, good evening to you. And then somebody in the Facebook group, Rebecca in the Facebook group. Good evening, Richard, and everyone at home. Just to let anybody know who may be watching in the Facebook group, I may not see who you are. So just do as Rebecca has put on the end of your message. Just let me know who you are. And you also won't see any comments that I put in. Just the way Facebook works, I'm afraid. So let me... no, I can't do that with this. Let me just let you know what I've been up to over this last week. It's been an eventful week, to say the least. We've had a lot of bad news. I was ill at the beginning of the week on Monday, but I think it was a reaction to my jab, nothing serious. We've had somebody I work with pass away, unfortunately, which has really been a bit difficult to get my head around, but, you know, these things happen. Let me get rid of that. What I've been... I went down the allotment yesterday. I said I was dedicating the whole day to the allotment, and I did. I cleared out lots and lots of weeds. I've got more leeks in the ground. I've been sowing more cabbages. I've sown cabbages at home and down on the allotment. You'll hear about that on the podcast on Monday. Going back down the allotment tomorrow after work with my strimmer because I forgot to take my battery from my strimmer. Back at home, my potatoes have been affected by blight. My tomatoes have been affected by blight, so they're pretty much all gone now. And I'm started to take down the willow tree that we have in our garden that is overshadowing one of my vegetable patches, which isn't good, and it's not really where I want it. I've kind of came to the assumption this year, actually, the allotment has not been used to its fullest, and as tragic as that sounds, and it is tragic, don't get me wrong, it's not been used to its fullest, but we're coming to the end of the season. I've decided that what I'm going to start doing is getting it prepared for next year, doing it a bit early, but I'm going to start building new beds, start covering over with the green manure and cardboard where I can, add a new compost, basically just so that next year I can hit it hard and it should be ready to go. So that's what I've been up to over this last week in my allotment and my vegetable patch. Let me know what you guys have been doing in your own allotments, your own vegetable patches, either in the comments. You can call in on 07307 135 174, or you can, if you want to zap yourself in on the link that's going up right now in the comments, click on the link. It'll access your webcam or your phone, or if you're using your phone, your camera on your phone, and you can appear on screen alongside my good self. So what have we got? So Ed Loud, good noonie afters. Hope all are well. Long time no see. Lovely to see you, Ed Loud. I know you've had it very, very, very tough over this last few weeks. So lovely to see you. Turbo Stream, I've been planting the flower border at the plot. I brought some trays of pansies to do around for winter colour. That's not a bad idea, actually. I planted some pansies out last year, and I think I've probably got to do the same again this year. Is there still time to sow seeds? That's something I need to ask myself and find out. Can we still sow pansy or violas? And of course, the flowers are edible, so they can grow in my garden. But just nice to get that bit of colour, if we can get those going. Digwell Green Fingers, hello everyone, peeps. I've got lovely photos coming up from Digwell a little bit later on as well. Graham Arnold, my leeks have bolted. Can I still use them? I've never had them bolt before. So when I've had leeks bolt, usually they bolted because of stress, which I think this year everything is just causing stress. But what I've found when my leeks have bolted, when I've cut them open, the centre, the very centre core, that the bit that has bolted, is generally quite tough. So what I do is I cut open my leeks, I remove that tough centre core, and I use the rest. And they're fine. They're fine. They're not as good as if they haven't bolted. They might be a little bit tough, might need a little bit longer cooking. But generally speaking, they are okay. Evening, Richard. Hope all is good from Cornish Heaven. Lovely to see you. Yeah, very, very well here. Turbo Stream, I've been weeding and sowing some green manure. What green manure are you using, or is that going to be in your video a little bit later on? Actually, green manures are something that I'm a big fan of. Started using a few years ago, but never really got into them until last year. And what I found, the Facilia, which has been a fantastic green manure on my plot. I've scattered that around, and I've sowed that already this weekend as well. Scattered that around, it grew, and it shaded out and stopped the couch grass from growing. So I think Facilia is certainly a fantastic green manure. But I'm also going to be using some more autumn and winter green manures just to bulk up my organic matter and do my garden and my allotment a load of good. What else have we got? Richard Golding, hello sir, hello to you, hope you are well. Cornish Heaven, I've been investing in fruit trees, soft fruit and flowers. Compost, spent rather a lot, £900. Oops, so easily done, isn't it? Fruit trees, soft fruits, flowers, they soon all add up, and fruit trees particularly, you could grow them from seed, but they take so long to fruit that you're much better off buying them already grown, in my opinion. It may be a bit more expensive, but I think it's worth it. Ed Loud, I've mowed my dad's lawn, and that's about it. No doubt the herbs I had on the windowsill are dead now, but lovely to have an access to a garden at least till next Monday. So Ed, unfortunately, has had to look after his dad's his dad, who's been rather ill. And yeah, it opened up the access to a garden. So I think Ed now is looking forward to having a garden. Good evening from Steve. Spent most of last of the week harvesting loads of beans, loads of squashes, plus starting to repair/replace the fence around the plot. I think last week we had a photo about this fence, if I remember correctly. But I know Steve does have his own blog and his own Instagram channel. I forget what it is off the top of my head. If anybody wants to see what's going on, it comes on the podcast every now and then. In fact, I've got to pop over to his allotment pretty soon and try and record a podcast there as well. Amanda Joy, hello to you. I've had a day on the plot today. Just came in hungry, made myself a quick pizza using a wrap as a base and veg toppings from the plot. The chili has absolutely knocked my socks off. That's my type of pizza. I do like some really good chilies. In fact, I know Amanda's a member of my supporters club. I think, if I remember correctly, are you using the chilies that I sent out last year? Because I had a picture come in from one of the members who has been using the chilies that we sowed back in November. And he said they were quite hot. To me, I thought they were quite mild. So always interesting to find out everybody's different tastes on how chilies are. Turbo Stream sowed Facilia, the same as myself. And that's the green manure I was asking about a little bit earlier on. Not sure if I can eat many more of those, the chilies. Well, I just say add more and more chilies. And the thing I love about chilies is that there's so many different flavors or different strengths that or you start experimenting and find your favorite chili, and it opens up things. And I also think the more chilies you eat, the more you get used to it. What have we got? Stuart Jackson has joined. He's been sowing loads of herbs this weekend. Excellent. Always room to sow herbs, in my opinion. There we go. I said Steve had a plot 110 Sussex on Instagram. I knew there was a channel or something going on there. Beatrice has joined. Good evening to you. Steve, chilies from the members club doing well here. Yes, they were patchy, if I remember right. And we sowed them in November. We'll probably do the same again this year, to be honest, because it's something I always do. And I think having that growing and ready to go, an early start, just makes life a bit better. I bought another mug this week. Yes, Turbo Stream did buy another mug, and one of the new mugs, which we will get into a little bit later on. So glut recipes is what I wanted to talk about this evening. We had a bit of a start this off last week with people asking for recipes for cucumbers and chilies, and was it chilies, cucumbers, courgettes, and so on. Now, the one that I I had cooked in advance, I filmed the video, but I've had one of those days today. I haven't been able to get to the computer, and it was using potatoes, and I made Bombay potatoes. Now, I love Indian dishes, absolutely love Indian dishes. So Bombay potatoes was something I make every year, and they can go in the freezer, and off we go, and ready to use later on in the year. Like most curries, I think. Curries taste better once they've marinated for a while. So how I made my Bombay potatoes, I got about a kilo of potatoes that I dug out the ground. Now, because of blight, I've had to really harvest a lot of potatoes in one go. I got them home, peeled them, chopped them, pot them in a pan and parboiled them. But I added to that water that was parboiling the potatoes in, I added a teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of turmeric. And that gave the potatoes this nice yellow colour. Once they're parboiled, I drained those potatoes off, and then I put them into an oven-proof pan with 3 tablespoons of oil, some mustard seeds, some garam masala, and some curry powder. Mixed it all around so all the potatoes were coated in it, and then I put those in the oven, gas mark 8, I forget what it is in Celsius or whatever, for about 30 to 45 minutes until they were nice, basically like a roasted potato but with this real nice seasoning. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. We had a curry for dinner last night. I kept some aside for tonight's show, and I've left it indoors because everything just happened at the last minute today. So let's have a look and see what everyone else is saying. A glut of patty pans. Just what shall I do? Excuse me, sorry. What shall I do with them all? Well, for me, patty pans I like to use just like courgettes. So you could stuff them with cheese and bacon and then roast them. Absolutely delicious is my first thought on that. Digwell, my Hungarian hot wax is claimed to be 250 to 15,000 Scoville units. Thinking it was a cool one, I took a bite. Oh my God, it blew my head off. Yeah, Hungarian hot wax is, I usually think, quite a medium one, but you know, sometimes you get hotter chilies, sometimes you don't. And I love chilies. I just love chilies. Use them like courgettes. This is to Steve, who was asking about patty pans. Absolutely, use them like courgettes. So we've actually, next week, I've been sent a courgette cake recipe from I think it was Rebecca or Rachel, one of the two, which I'm going to be cooking next week and be showing on this show. So this is courgette, carrot, and orange. It sounds absolutely delicious. I have lots of apples this year. Will apple crumble? What can I say? I will be freezing most of the harvesting this year. Well, actually, apples, when it comes to gluts of apples, I know exactly what I would do. First of all, apple chutney. I use a slow cooker because it takes about 8 hours to cook. But apples, onions, vinegar, sugar, all basically boiled up and let to. It takes about 8 hours. It's a long cooking one, but it is delicious. It really does go well damn well. But other than that, what I would also do with gluts of apples is cider. Well, the only alcoholic drink I drink is cider. I love it. It's fruity. I don't like it with a load of alcohol personally, but that's just me. And to make cider, it's pretty easy, really. You have to chop them all up, press them to get the juice out of them, pour them into a belly john, take the readings to see if you need to add yeast or anything or sugar, add your cap and leave it. And it is really, really nice. And that's what I love doing with gluts of apples. You do need a lot of apples though, so you need quite a few. What should I do with all the courgettes? Absolutely. There's lots of recipes for courgettes. Turbo Stream's glut recipe is beetroot soup. Fry an onion in olive oil, cube with beetroot and potatoes, add and boil with vegetable stock cube, blend with stick blender and season to taste. I'm going to make a slight adjustment to that recipe. Something that I always make sure I have in the freezer is stock. Now, if I'm doing something like, if I've been boiling potatoes, I will keep that water and then add some other vegetables, some onions and stuff, and just in a slow cooker and make stock with it, which then lives in the freezer. Don't ever buy stock cubes in this house. Same as chicken, we'll boil up. If we have roast chicken, we'll throw all the bones after we've had a roast into the slow cooker with some water and some onions and herbs and just boil that up. Never need to use veg stock cube, and there's always stock available for making soups, and it tastes really, really good. Bombay potatoes cooked that way sounds very unique. I'll have to try. Yes, funny enough, I thought that when I found this recipe, but because it was dry, didn't use tomatoes, I kind of like it, and it was so easy to do because it was almost like a curried roast potato, which, you know, in my book, that sounds great. Beetroot soup sounds very nice. Absolutely, yes. From Rebecca, it's delicious. That's the courgette, carrot, and orange cake that we're going to be cooking and eating next week. I'm salivating already at the thought of it. But that's something you could do with these excess courgettes that people are asking about. Courgette cake seems to be very, very popular. It is Steve. I can't remember what that was. Yes, hot wax on the corner end of a scale, but this one was easy. Yeah, it can happen. Sometimes you get a chili that the plant has decided it's going to put all its capsicum into for some reason, and probably to stop that particular chili from being eaten by mammals. And that makes that chili extra hot, which is why sometimes people will save the seeds from that particular chili to grow next year. This is from Rachel, I think, Rebecca, sorry. Patty pans into soup. Yeah, courgette soup or patty pan soup, also a really good way of using things up. I think soups are quite often a really good way to use up glut, I've got to say. And it's so easy to do. You know, just take your vegetables, put them in a pan with some vegetable stock, boil and simmer for so long, then blend them into a nice smooth soup, unless you like a chunky soup, of course. Soup, you know, again, we have a freezer. Well, we've got several freezers that we keep a lot of soups in just for that very reason. Apple and blackberry pie, and the rest will be stewed. This from Ian Meadows. Apple and blackberry pie for using up those excess apples. That sounds really nice. Stewed apple to be frozen. That's a good one. Apple ice cream is what I'm thinking as well as another idea. We do make some ice creams here as well. You notice a lot of our stuff that we make goes into the freezer. We add coconut milk to our beetroot soup. That sounds nice. I do like coconut milk when it's a good quality coconut milk. Really does add a nice bit of different flavour. Not thought to use it in beetroot soup, so I might have to borrow that one day. Stream, good point about using the stock. I am guilty of using stock cubes. I humbly stand corrected. To be honest, the main reason, the thing is, when it comes to making loads of stock like I do in advance, we have got three freezers that we can use. So we've got the space. You know, I will spend some time, you know, a quiet evening perhaps making like things like stock, pastry, things that you use quite often, and just stick that in the freezer so that when I do want to do something, we haven't got to rush out to a supermarket and buy this stuff. It's all there. That's just how I work, to be honest. But that's just us. We are going to be eating. Does that mean you're posting out taster packs? No, it'll be me. Well, actually, is it bank holiday? No, it's not bank holiday weekend next weekend. I was going to say Amanda might be joining me on bank holiday weekend, but I might be able to get a guest next weekend to try this as well. We'll see how it goes. I roasted courgettes and blended them into soups last year. A lot of people using courgettes in soups as a way to use them up. And I will make apple and humble pie this week. I think that's meant to be blackberry pie. I'm not sure. Could I have a swig of coffee quickly? Now, Adrian is saying, we have lots of freezers. My wife complains that as soon as we acquire a new one, I fill it up. Yeah, that's what we do. We fill them up, but as we start to use them, we turn them off. So once they're empty, and we try and condense them down as much as possible. And like this year, I think they're not going to be as full as normal because it's been such a rubbish year for grow your own. But that's my experience anyway. I'm feeling a bit disheartened this year. But one thing we have done very, very well with is peas this year. We're getting lots and lots of peas. So any glut recipes or ideas of what I can use peas in would be greatly received as well. Excuse me. Now, I love pea soup, but we seem to be talking about a lot about pea soup. Sorry, so I'm going to try and move away from soups because they're so easy. Great idea, but let's get a bit more imaginative and find something else we can do. Adrian's freezer's never empty. The thing is, we try not to buy any food or vegetables that I can grow myself, which is great. You know, when food is in abundance like at the moment, it's easy. But come the winter months when there's less available, that's where the freezer comes into play, or what I find anyway. Peas are good in risottos. Absolutely. That's a very, very good one from Muddy Boots. Risottos. Got to get. The key to a risotto is to treat it with love. So you ladle in the stock and use a very, very good homemade stock. It's a real key to risottos. Digwell, I bet you salvage all the scrap freezers from work. LOL. The trouble with the scrap freezers we get at work is that they are the industrial ones, which are very noisy, and they use a lot of electricity. They're big, but they're not what you would want in a home. I'll put it like that. We do have one industrial fridge, but it's so noisy that we can't use it unless it's an emergency. I did well with my seed-sown onions this year, much to my surprise from Turbo Stream. Funny enough, I have too. My ones that were grown at home. I'm really surprised. Normally I struggle, and I've said about this many times before. My seed onions still haven't toppled over yet, so they're still not quite ready. So I'm kind of impressed that they still bulk up. I think I've done that one. Ed Loud. Can't go wrong with a drop of soup. Spent about a year living off homemade soup and bread. Never felt healthier. Nice to have a change though. Now I have the money. Yeah, I mean, I do like soups, and we do make a lot of soups, and I think they're particularly good throughout the winter months. For lunch, I'll heat them up in the morning, take them in a thermos flask to work, and it's a bit better than sandwiches. But I think we need to be a bit more imaginative sometimes. Freezers are good as long as the power does not go off. That is true. That is true. And as long as they continue or don't break down, which is very rare on a domestic fridge freezer or domestics. I have had a good growing year apart from potatoes, so I'm enjoying this veg growing. I must be the only person that has had a very good tomato harvest when growing outside. Yeah, I've been talking to people today, actually, and everyone is sort of saying that tomatoes inside the greenhouse are fine, but outdoor tomatoes, the blight has just got them. It's devastated most of my outdoor ones, same as my potatoes, except for my blight-resistant ones. And I've rooted them. I've kind of done with outdoor tomatoes for this year. I've cleared away the area. We'll say goodbye, and that's it. It's a shame, but it's freed up the area that tomatoes were in. I can start preparing that and getting some of my winter crops in. I'm really starting to think about what I can grow throughout the winter to give me winter and spring harvest. So, spring lettuces and or winter lettuces, spring cabbages, so on and so on. French beans are good in risotto, and I love them in paella as well. Ooh, yeah, they do go very, very well in both of those. I haven't had paella for a few weeks. Got me craving paella. I use peas and corned beef hash with peppers, spinach, onions, potato. Oh, that sounds good. Please share with us how you make that. Corned beef hash with peppers, spinach, onion, potato, and peas. Let us know how you make that. Did well on seed onion too. First time I tried it, and we'll be sowing again for next year. Seed onions seem to have done very well this year. Interesting. My onions and leek both went to seed as I planted last year and wasn't here to harvest. I've loved the flower heads, and so have the bees. I've got to say, I do think that allium, peas, onions and leeks, all the plants in that varieties, the flower heads, I think do look stunning, which I think is obviously why they become or they sold as allium flower heads. They are stunning. They are absolutely stunning. Weird noise going on there. It's probably the chickens, actually. The way to use a glut is to find out how to store it. Last year, I stored my beetroot in old compost in the shed. I totally agree. Yeah, that works depending on what it is and what you can save. But I think one of the best ways, I think the freezer is obviously, as you can tell, probably one of the most ways that I store my food. And I will cook up, if let's say, let's use a courgette. I can pot courgettes in a curry quite nicely, and I will freeze that curry, and I'll make a big batch of curry and freeze it in smaller batches, almost like a ready meal. And it goes in the freezer, and it is beautiful, all nice, and especially if it's fresh when cooked, all nice and fresh and stored. For me, I find that the easiest way. I do want to build a proper crop storage place in my garage that I can store things like potatoes and onions a bit better. Get a propane-powered hydrogen ammonia absorption freezer, no electric. Yes, but you got to have propane to power them, or you can. I'm going off on this. Where you're talking about freezers. This is something I know a lot about. You can actually get electric powered ones, and they are silent because they don't have any mechanical pumps or anything. There's a heater that basically warms the gas up to pump it around. The only trouble with that is if ammonia escapes, it can be pretty nasty. It's very rare it does escape, and that's often actually, if you're interested, how medical fridges and freezers are usually ammonia powered. Just a bit of useless information for you on a garden show. My dad used to store carrots in dry compost pile in his shed. I'm going to try it this year. Wish me luck. Yeah, that's something that I do want to do as well, actually, is get like large containers of dry sand or moist. Well, does it need to be dry or does it need to be moist? You just put the carrots into that. I think just moist carrots into that, and that should preserve them quite nicely, in theory anyway. So yeah, that's definitely something that I want to do. I think what I need to do is build a big container for this out of wood, or like a clamp or something that could work as well. So I've just had an alert come up that I've got a poor signal, so hopefully I'm still going strong. Shall we have a look? What should we do? Let's have a look at a few photos to start this off with. Where are the photos? I'm having to do this slightly differently tonight. The technical issues caused me some problems. So here we go. So first of all, this came in from Amanda Joy. She's been showing off the harvest that she's got this week. Some good looking cucumbers, courgettes, tomatoes, onions, all looking rather good. I'm rather jealous of the tomatoes, as you can gather, this year. Now this absolutely beautiful picture came in from Digwell or Steve, and this is his allotment water supply, which giant reservoir, all looks absolutely beautiful and probably brings in a lot of wildlife as well, but it's pumped to this well or dipping tank with the hose pipes attached as well, ready for use. I've got to say, for an allotment, that looks like an absolutely stunning area to have an allotment as well. This one came in from Stuart, who's also got tomatoes on his garden, on his tomato plants. Also looking green, but, you know, seem to be doing very well. And in this picture, I can see absolutely no sign of blight. I think he's about the only person I know that has not had blight. He was talking about his gluts of apples this year, and as you can see on this tree, that's where his apples are, and there's a lot of them. Now, this picture I absolutely love. It came in from Richard Golden, who is in the crowd tonight. His friend's grown this lemon tree. As you can see, it's producing lemons, and he's in the UK, which looks absolutely stunning, and just goes to show that you can grow lemons even here in the UK. Now, finally, Ian Beddoes, he's always having a laugh and a joke, that one. He's got this picture of, well, I think if you read what it says it for itself. I prefer my kale with a silent K. There's always one, isn't there, that has to lower the tone, and it's always Ian. Excuse me. Right, let's have a quick look at what people are saying in the chat. That was about the ammonia fridge. Corned beef. Chop the onion, peppers, and spinach. Part boil the cubed potatoes, then add to the frying pan with the rest of the veg. I add an oxide cube with the corned beef, fry off, and enjoy. That sounds delicious. I wonder if it'll work with chard as well. The old timers used to clamp this to store produce in winter. Frost-free garage or shed would work, I think. Well, a clamp does work, or a root cellar as well was another option. It's the fear with a clamp is that rats or vermin might get in and steal some of the food in there, but it's very easy to do. It's just a case of laying straw and earth over your vegetables and then trying to get them as and when you need them. My dad's John, good evening to you. Do you want some wood shavings for your veg storage, which is dried? Yes, please. If you've got a lot of wood shavings, we use it quite a bit, so please do. Adrian, is paella made with fish or chicken? So it's used both. It's a Spanish dish, and it's actually a comfort food. It was whatever people would have available, and it would use fish, chicken, rabbit, basically just thrown into a big pan with rice and vegetables, chorizo, all cooked together. There's no real set what it can have, but the most common thing would be fish and chicken and chorizo. Ian Meadows, when is a good time to plant a plum? Fancy one as we grow more fruit this year and going forward. Right, so whenever it comes to planting a tree, now if you're going to buy if you already have the plum tree, then it's probably already got roots and in a pot. But there's a good chance the cheaper way to buy a plum tree or any fruit tree is to buy what's called a what's it called? It's got no roots basically, or it's yanked out the ground. It's driving me mad what it's called. They are only sold during the late autumn, winter months because they got to be planted straight away, and because there's less heat around, they establish better during the winter months. I tend to always try and plant anything like any of my trees in sort of September, October, November time when the ground's still workable, but it's less likely to dry out, so therefore the roots are going to establish for any tree. Done the same with asparagus as well. It establishes a lot better. So that's when I would look at it. If it's already in a pot and it's already got roots, you can plant it at any time of the year, but it's just you got to work harder at keeping it watered and keep it maintained. I've seen old freezers used for storage. Yeah, you can use old freezers as an old root cellar. I've seen people bury old freezers and use that as a root cellar. I've also know Bob Flowerdew, who organic gardener, he's used old freezers, used the trays in them with them turned off, not working, used the trays in them to store fruit, vegetables, but sometimes you've got to cut off the gaskets and thing to allow better airflow. 101 uses. Plus I think they can sometimes look a bit ugly. I will have to plant some plums soon. Sounds like it's raining now. Soon. My tree is very old and don't produce much, so yeah, plums. I've got to get myself another plum tree. My granddad, he always had this in his, anybody who knows, his house had quite a large garden, and he had this plum tree orchard. There was about 5 plum trees. Every year they would pick loads of plums. There was lots of wasps, and there was always buckets and buckets full of plums. Absolutely delicious. Far too many than what I could use, but I've really got to get myself a plum tree. Again, just to remind us of that. The trees are still there. He probably planted them quite early on. They're probably 60, 70 years old now. They're still there. They're still producing. They're just old. I've just said that one. Bare rooted. That's it. Bare rooted. Yes. Bare rooted plants. Thank you. Bare root. Yeah. Bare root. Yeah. Everyone's shouting it at me. I hate it. I hate it when you can't remember it. So I knew it was something like that. I have a 50-year-old freezer I use as a storage in my workshop for some tools. There you go. Yeah, freezers have a lot of use and what have you. Right. So there's something I mentioned a bit earlier, and I said this last week. New merchandise is available now on the website. Now, some people have asked for caps, various other things. We've got a few things up on the website already. There'll be more things going up tonight. And the supporters club have had their own merchandise out last week as well. Now, I use a particular company because, well, I brought these caps, which are available on the website, about 3 years ago, and they still look as good and like they're brand new. So I've used this company. I have no problems with them at all. Fantastic thing. They're a UK-based company, and that's who I use for my merchandise. So we've got mugs like that, enamel mugs, not like that, because this one has got 3. I didn't like how it looked with 3, so it only has 2, one there and one there. Enamel mugs, which are great, fully allotment, and T-shirts with that on, hoodies with that design on. But you guys have been calling yourself the Veg Grower Army, and I thought that deserved some of its own merchandise. So I went away. I had an idea of what I wanted to do as a design, spoke to my friend, knocked a few ideas up and back, and then I came up with something I think is pretty cool. Veg Grower Army. Now this is the enamel mug, which I've added the chili and the tomato on either side of it. I have got it in a mug like that as well, but I haven't got that here. Mugs are, I think they're £12 on the, go to the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk, hit the shop. All my prices include postage and packaging. Mugs are £12. We've got T-shirts as well. Now, I'm wearing one of the T-shirts, which this is the most expensive T-shirt that I do because it's got quite a bit of printing on it. So we've got the usual logo just there. But if I turn around on the back, hopefully you can see this okay. We've got the Veg Grower Army on the back as well. That's not the only T-shirt with Veg Grower Army either. We have got the T-shirt with that logo just on the front, nothing on the back. We're going to get the ladies' T-shirts up this evening as well once I finish this live show. So if ladies have a choice of T-shirts as well. It comes in a huge range of colours. You can choose your own colour. This is a maroon one, which we quite like. All sizes as well. Select your colour, select your size. I've popped the prices up there. I do not make hardly any money out of it. Honestly, I'm not in it to make money. It's just really a bit of fun. But because of the costs involved, I've had to cover that. So if anybody is interested, you know where to head, the veggrowerpodcast.co.uk. Click on the shop. Turbo Stream has already ordered, well, he's got one of these mugs, but he's also ordered the Veg Grower Army mug in the ceramic, if I remember correctly, which isn't the enamel one. This is the enamel one. I've got 2 of these enamel ones, which are meant to be really fully allotments where they can, go camping and that sort of thing. So they're a bit tougher and a bit harder and less likely to break than the ceramic ones. I know what my family will be getting for Xmas this year. Yeah, we ship all over to the world as well. Not wherever you are in the world, you can order them. They ship all over the place. So, like I say, the company I use, they're a UK-based company. I trust them. They're very quick. They're very efficient. They're reasonably priced. But also, like I say, I've had that one 3 years and it still looks pretty much brand new. And it goes in the dishwasher. You know, we don't treat it any differently to any other mug. We'll probably use it 2-3 times a week. David, now that would be great on a baseball hat. Yep, the baseball hat is coming. I'm just testing a different supplier because my supplier doesn't do baseball hats. So rest assured, I know a few people have asked for the baseball hat. It is coming. I've just got to test out a different supplier for those, and I want to be happy with the supplier before I sell it to the public. Amanda Joy, they're great. Richard, thank you very much. I know I'm going to get it on a hoodie as well because I think if I remember correctly, Amanda bought one of the logo hoodies, so we're going to get some more of those. But just a bit of fun, really, more than anything. Do they sell the size of exceptionally chubby? I'm asking for a friend. I think they go up to 5XL. So I would say, yeah, exceptionally chubby is covered. This t-shirt I'm wearing is a large, and I'm normally a large t-shirt anyway. This is quite a nice, comfortable fit if you are worried about that. I might want to use one in my camper van. Yeah, please do. What about Northern Ireland? Yeah, as far as I'm aware, they ship to Northern Ireland. I know they ship to Europe. They ship everywhere in the world. I've sent one to Canada recently, a mug to Canada, no problems. Takes a little bit longer, obviously, to get to all these other parts. Normally, the company I use, when I place an order, let's say I place an order on a Monday, or I did one the other day, came through about 10 o'clock at night, so I put it through then. 10 o'clock the next morning, I got a notification, an email saying it had been shipped, and I think 2 days later it had arrived, but that was UK based. The one I sent to Canada, I think took about 2-3 weeks to arrive. Just takes a little bit longer, but you know, I'm pretty happy with it. I think, you know, got to try these things and do what we can. So yeah, anybody is interested, please do go check that out. Nobody has to buy any of this stuff, of course. It's just if you want to. And it was more you guys calling yourself the Veg Grower Army. I just felt it needed something to recognize that. And the idea behind the Veg Grower Army logo, actually, my idea or the thought in my head was the A-Team logo. It shows my age there. And I just had to come up with a way to develop that. And then I just used, for the O, I used the usual logo. Seems to work. Quite like it. I'll definitely get another hoodie. The first one is really comfy and good quality. I've got my eye on a t-shirt and mug too. There you go. Yeah. I know a few people have got the t-shirts or got the hoodies and the stuff. Again, for me, I like the quality of these, and that's why I was always hesitant, is that I want to make sure the quality is there. I have a t-shirt and it's great. I will be ordering another soon. Yeah, so Stuart's got the Veg Grower Podcast logo on the t-shirt, which is what I basically done in the beginning, and it's stuck with it. Love it. But we're expanding. What about a flag? I'll have to look into somebody that does a flag. I'm very particular with my suppliers because I want a UK-based supplier. So I can ring them up if I've got a problem and deal with them there and then. Eventually, because they seem to be very popular, we may look at actually printing our own T-shirts, printing our own mugs here in my garage or something. But we'll see what happens. I ain't drinking no milk, fool. Crazy fool. Yes, I'm a big A-Team fan, an A-Team fan, to the point on my wedding day, I got taken to my wedding in the A-Team van. It's a brilliant design, I must say. Thank you. I really did like it. We need some membership cards. Yeah. So this is for the supporters club. I thought about doing membership cards, but then because the way I do it is that people can give up or I'll close their membership down within a month, and it's on a monthly thing. This is for the supporters club. Anybody who doesn't know, I run a supporters club which gets extra podcasts, and I send a collection of seeds out every month. I charge £5 a month for that. Because it can be somebody could sign up just for 1 month and then decide to pack it in. So I don't really do membership cards for that. But I know Amanda has pretty much been a member since it began. So perhaps we could do something for those that have been a member for a while. Met the A-Team at Universal when they that's my dream, absolute dream. The prices are great, a lot cheaper than my school t-shirts. Well, I try and keep the prices what I would feel I would be prepared to pay. That's my justification. I think this t-shirt that I'm wearing with the double logo is most expensive. I think that's £22 off the top of my head, which is, for me, I thought a bit too pricey, but I can understand why. At the end of the day, if nobody buys it, it's not the end of the world. Supporters Club is brilliant from Rebecca as well. So yeah, if anybody does want to support use it for the supporting the live show, supporting the podcast, again, head to the veggroundpodcast.co.uk. Adrian is saying long service medal. That's certainly something we can think about. Going to have a quick swig of coffee. So that's got the merchandise and everyone looking into that. Got the glut recipes. Keep your glut recipes coming along. In fact, I'm a bit hesitant to show this mug off, but I've had this mug 6 months, and it was given to me from somebody who runs a business, and it started to fade already. That's why I like those mugs. I've got to say, in fact, goes in the dishwasher 2-3 years, and it still looks as good as the day it came out. Another swig of coffee coming up. But that one I've had 6 months, it's faded. Right, it's quite a long video, but a 9-minute video. This came in from Turbo Stream on a plot tour of his allotment. Let's have a quick look at that, and then we can come back.
Hello Richard, it's Adrian aka Turbo Stream, and this is my August plot tour. So we're starting on the root bed. So we've got a few second early potatoes left to harvest. I'll do them in the next few days. I took your advice about mulching. This is my parsnip bed, and you can see they're quite not too bad now. I've mulched all the way along this bed with grass. And then the bed next to it, I've also mulched. This was full of weeds last time. Again, that's just a covering of grass. And then behind there, we've got some leeks in between all the calendula. The calendula are coming out soon. I thought it'd be an experiment to grow leeks within some flowers just to see if it made any difference. Probably hasn't, but there you go. This is the other side of the bed. This is my experimental seed bed in position. As you can see, there's some wooden sides made out of some pallets, and the top is from an old cloche. And there's staples of some wire just to keep the lid on. And for a bit of ventilation, I've put some old canes under there. I've also made a lid out of Enviromesh, so when they come up and they're a reasonable size, I shall replace the lid with Enviromesh. And this is the leeks. They're coming on quite nicely. And just over there is beetroot. I don't know how well that comes out, but that's a massive beetroot. And this is the experimental wildflower bed, which I'm slowly thinning out, mainly calendula. But this is destined to be, I think, some kind of cottage garden vegetable patch. It's not, the idea isn't fully formed in my mind at the moment. But as they go to seed, I'm slowly thinning them out. I want to get rid of this tarpaulin and have some other plants. As you see, I've thinned it out quite a lot now. There's some seedlings coming up. And then we've got some verbena, which I was given. So I'll when they finish flowering, I'll cut them down to the ground so they've got a chance to grow again. This is the other half of the bed. I'm slowly filling it out. I've been and bought some violas and pansies just to fill it, give some winter colour. I've got some perennials coming up now. I've got a hardy geranium there. Some sedum in the front. There's another hardy geranium which I grew from seed. These are some poppies. Some wallflowers that are looking a bit old. They're a few years old now. They could be coming out. I planted some more from seed. And these ill specimens are some primroses, which I've transplanted from my own garden. Just the roots, so hopefully they'll grow. And there's a few more sedums, and there's some all sorts in there. And this is the strawberry patch that went a bit wild, so that's another area I need to contend with. My friend who's allotmented these, who's had to give it up, had the idea of putting the weed membrane down, but it hasn't worked, so that's going to come up. I'm not a fan of this weed membrane, to be honest. I'd rather do the weeding. So this is really work in progress, this patch, but we'll get there. And this is my compost bin. So my friend, before he gave the plot, he made me some dividers. So the actual compost bin, if you look, is the roof of an old Anders shelter from the Second World War. So it's divided into 4 squares. So we've got some compost in there, which you've got to cover over to stop the rain we had. I'll take it off soon. There's another bay there. And the idea is that this divider gets taken out, and then the contents of that goes into this empty bay so I can turn it. And then I can start on this part again. And we've got the shed there. I tidied it out this week. And next to the shed, somewhere under there, is gooseberries. So this winter, these are going to get pruned back. All the weeds are going to come out. I'm actually going to move them, I've decided. They don't do very well there, so I've been learning how to cut back and move gooseberries. And behind there is rhubarb. These are my water butts. The one on the left needs sorting out. That's on the lean, so I'm going to again tidy this up in the winter. Connect them all together, make it look a lot tidier. This is the area by another compost heap. That's rhubarb. That needs. I'm going to dig some of those crowns up, and they're going to be moved across the other part of the plot. You can see we've got a beautiful summer's afternoon here. Recording this on Tuesday. This is the plot I've got spare, so I'll donate this to Liz next door for this season. She's got squash coming up. I've been tidying the shed and getting rid of all the old canes, so they're gradually getting either reused or cut up. Raspberries across here, so I think this may end up becoming a soft fruit bed, or that, or the bed down there. I'm not quite sure. And the last square of the plot is where I grew my onions, so there's still a load of calendula coming up. This is a neglected bean bed. I'm not very happy with this, so I kept it in good last year, but this, I've got some beans on there coming through. I need to do a bit of weeding on there. This part was another failed strawberry bed. Again, the weed membrane hasn't worked. You can see all the weeds, all they do is they come up in the gaps. So that's going to come up this winter. I want to move some of the strawberries. So these are Dwarf French beans, purple variety. As I say, I've got a few coming on there, so they need picking. And then this half of the thing is some climbing French beans, and behind there is runner beans. Now I'm going to leave these to go to pod for soups because I don't really like runner beans. So there's plenty of pods on there. So I'm just going to let them do their thing and see what pods so I can add them to soups. And this is the disaster zone. This is my brassica bed. And there's absolutely millions and billions of whitefly flying about all over the shop. I've almost given up on the brassicas in the summer. I'm going to take your tip, Richard, grow them in the winter. As you can see, this is the cowlet that's gone to seed. They're healthy enough plants. This is Brussels sprouts. That one's okay, I think. This one I've cut back. It's trying to flower again. Probably need some feed actually. I've kind of neglected it. I kind of gave up. I lost heart with this bed. This was the broad beam section, but I've now put some strawberries in there. I might put a few more in there once they've established. Oh, this bee seems to be enjoying the flowers, so maybe it's a good thing. And then we come full circle. I've got some kale, which I was donated to. I think there's a swede in there growing. This, I think, is either a cauliflower. There might be a cauliflower. Again, this bed has gone to rack and ruin, really. There's another cauliflower in there. I really need to do some attention. So my next visit will be attending to this bed. And one final shot, it is the whole of the plot. So it's 4 squares, as you can see. There's my bike there. That is my plot. 9 minutes, that's enough. Back to the studio.
Finished nicely with one of her mugs. Seemed appropriate. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance to play that video before we went live, and I couldn't hear if there was anything being asked throughout it. The only thing I got an idea was Digwell said use soapy water for whitefly, which I'm guessing there was a problem with whitefly at some point on those brassicas. What I always find is the negative side. Obviously, when you need to net most brassicas, but that doesn't let the little birds in to eat the things like the whitefly and stuff. So yeah, lovely video from what I could see. I will play it back after I finish this show tonight and have a proper watch of it. But thank you so much to Turbo Stream. Lovely video. Now, of course, anybody else out there would like to send me a video to play into the show, that would be fantastic. Just create your video, as long as it's about gardening or your allotment. Doesn't matter what the content is. Record it, edit it, do whatever you want with it, and send it to me. The easiest way is to go to a website called wetransfer.com. What that does is you upload your video file to that website. You enter my email address, which is richard@theveggrowerpodcast.co.uk. It will then send me an email in which I click on the link, and then I can download that file, which is quite often a lot easier than trying to do it any other way, because there's restrictions sometimes with emails on how big a file you can send out. So yeah, next week we're going to be talking about tool care. This is a question we got asked a while ago. So if anybody has a great chance for a video and a way that they may sharpen a pair of secateurs or a hoe, or how they look after a particular tool, great chance to send a video in. And please do, if you are sending a video in and you have a YouTube channel or an Instagram, please do let us know what that is so we can share that with everybody else. So let's have a quick look at what the comments are saying. Thanks for the warning, Turbo, but we enjoy your slot on the show. So what was Turbo Stream saying? Sorry, I tend to waffle. Well, I tend to waffle as well. part of the thing being a host on a podcast show. By the way, if anybody wants to call in, 07307135174, the number is across the bottom of the screen. I've also added the link if anybody wants to zap themselves in and appear on screen. Rebecca Rebecca has shared this cucumber recipe. So a tin of tuna, cucumber, cold pasta, mayo, tomatoes, onions, celery, salt and pepper, mix all together and enjoy. That sounds delicious. Stuart Jackson will be looking on the website later, but one of the jobs he has for this week is to bubble wrap his greenhouse. Hopefully that will save his heating bill. I've never heated one of my greenhouses, but I'm seriously thinking about doing it on a little greenhouse I'm thinking of building throughout this winter. I think I've read that one. Nice one, Turbo Stream. Oh, love a bit of rhubarb. We all do love rhubarb. Excuse me. Use soapy water for whitefly. I'm guessing there was a problem with whitefly throughout that video. They were nice plots, weren't they? Very nice plots. I also noticed just how lush some of those plants were looking. Nice green foliage, looking really, really good. Nice, clean, tidy plants. Great video. Great to see other plots, isn't it? Just do love to see other plots, and that's something we have the ability to do on this show. Brassicas are covered. I don't tend to cover my brassicas, in all honesty. I might have to this year because I'm actually sowing some of my brassicas directly on the plot, but I don't tend to. When I have done it in the past, I ended up with so much green fly and white fly that it was just a problem. Now that I let the thrushes come in and eat the insects, it's not so much of a problem. I've also had instances where I found, not on my plot, on other people's plots, but I found birds actually get caught in the netting when it's been too loose. And I've had to cut away the netting to free this little bird, which is always a shame, I think. But another reason I'm not keen on using netting, but then I don't get many problems with pigeons and stuff because I put bird scarer tape up instead. Some people have no other options. As Turbo Stream is saying here, has to net to protect from the pigeons. Great video. It's nice to see how others are doing. Absolutely. It is really nice to see how others are doing, and it gives us a chance to build up an idea of everyone's plots as well. There are too many calendula on my plot this year. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think calendula also has a habit of sowing itself like a weed, which we tend to get on our allotment, but I don't mind it. I quite like calendula anyway. Dare I ask what a calendula is at Turbo Stream? I'm assuming it's not something you write dates on. The orange and yellow flowers, they're also known as marigolds. So Ed Loud has not had much experience gardening, so we do not. One rule I have with this show: somebody asks a question, we do not lay into them if you think it's an easy question. If somebody asks a question, we have to respect that question. Calendula is otherwise known as marigolds, and they're beautiful plants. I'm wanting to heat my greenhouse for the first time. If anyone can spare any tips for what's best to use, please share. Right. So my first question is it a glass greenhouse or a plastic greenhouse? Reason I ask that, if you've got a plastic greenhouse, I would not recommend the use of paraffin heaters because it's possible it can catch or set everything on fire. If you've got a glass greenhouse, there's less chance of that happening. Could go for electric if you can run it electric to your greenhouse safely, but everything's got to be done safely. Paraffin heaters are probably the easiest way just to get a bit of heat in there. But to be honest, do you really need it? That's a question I always ask. A question, although expensive, would double glazed greenhouse work? I don't know. My fear with a double glazed greenhouse is the amount of UV light coming in would be restricted due to having to work through 2 panes of glass. I suspect that might be why it's not used, but I'm sure people have made greenhouses out of double glazed green glass as well. We'll put that out there to everybody else. Twin wall polycarbonate is good as greenhouse glass as it does keep heat in. Yeah, glass, single pane glass is particularly poor at insulation. It does let a heat out. Twin wall polycarbonate is not as strong as glass, but it does do a much better job at keeping heat in. The orange flowers head, yep, there we go. Thanks, Turbo Stream. Yeah, glass. So yes, it is a glass greenhouse, Rebecca is saying. So yeah, you got no problem with buying a paraffin heater. In all honesty, what I would recommend you do, however, if you're going to heat a greenhouse with paraffin, I would buy 2 small heaters. Reason I say buy 2 small heaters is that if one extinguishes itself overnight and it's a particularly cold night, the other one will still do the job. Or if one runs out or something, the paraffin heaters, 2 paraffin heaters, has a much better chance at keeping your greenhouse going and not killing off any plants. You've got to remember to keep adjusting the wick on an almost daily basis to make sure there's enough wick. If the wick gets too small, what it does is it pops soot out all everywhere and covers everything in black soot, and it's really difficult to get rid of. I get jealous of watching videos of plots only having a garden that I have to share with flowers. There's nothing wrong with sharing with flowers. You've got a potager, which is a combination of allotment, vegetable garden, and flowers. And some of them can look very, very nice. Just a lot of work if you can do it. I don't say keep you regular like a calendar. Yeah, there's always one. Thanks, Richard. I was always taught the silliest question was a question never asked. I've always said that. There is the only silly question is a question that never gets asked, and that's a philosophy I have always adopted. Greenhouse heating. Paraffin heaters are okay, but if you can use electric, it would work better. It cost me about £30 a winter to heat my 10 by 12 greenhouse. Yes, so here we go. We've got somebody with a bit of experience. Now, if you can get safely, bear in mind you've got water. It's a wet environment, so you need to have outdoor or IP65 plugs to your greenhouse in order to have an electric heater. It's safer and it's probably going to work a lot better. But you might need to get an electrician in, so it could end up working costly if you need to do that. But what I would say again with an electric heater is get 2 small ones just in case one breaks. You've got the other one to fall back on. I want my plot to be a lot neater next year. It got out of hand somewhat. I think I have OCD. Well, why do you think I haven't shown my allotment? Because it's really badly out of hand, to be honest. It's been one of those years where everything has gone against us. I thought paraffin heaters give off bad fumes for plants and humans. They can give off, paraffin heaters can give off a water vapor in the air, which can cause a bit of bad problems. And if the wick gets too low, like I say, it can put out soot, or if it doesn't burn cleanly, it can also put out carbon monoxide. So if you do have a paraffin heater, what I would recommend is, especially if it's a sealed greenhouse, open the greenhouse for about 5 minutes before you go in, just to let some of the ventilation get some fresh air coming in there and remove any carbon dioxide. Now, wrong with flowers, Ian. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with flowers. Oracles, have you the magnet on the meter, Stuart? That's cheap. Yeah, yeah. I thought £30 a winter to heat it sounded cheap, but it does depend, because if you've got the heating turned right up and you want it really warm, like a tropical hothouse, and there's no thermostat, it's going to cost a lot to heat it. If you've got the thermostat, there's a good chance that's going to be cost less, because it's going to cut out when it gets too warm, and it's probably going to maintain the temperature a lot better as well. On that note, in order to try and save money, I would also add some bubble wrap around the greenhouse to try, especially if you're heating it, try and retain some of that heat in, keep it a bit warmer in there, doesn't lose the heat, which means it uses less electricity or less fuel to try and heat the place. And what else? Something that I tried a few years ago, actually, was a bit like Charles Dowding does, was to put a compost bin inside my greenhouse and use the heat from that to heat the greenhouse. I remember about 20 years ago, there was somebody selling a greenhouse with a compost heap attached, and the idea being the heat from that compost would actually heat the greenhouse. I don't know if it worked or not, because they don't seem to sell them anymore. So my guess is it doesn't work anymore. But I thought that was a good idea. Don't forget propane and butane gas heaters for greenhouses. Yeah, propane, butane, a bit like a barbecue almost type thing you could get a hold of. If, again, it's not my preferred way because it's a naked flame, but for years people have used these sort of heaters in greenhouses. Wasn't it? Oh, the allotment guy on Radio 2 about 3 years ago, 3 years ago, his greenhouse caught fire through one of these propane or I think it was a paraffin heater, and it burned it to the ground. But then a load of people clubbed together, and he ended up getting a new greenhouse, which was quite lucky for him. Obviously, nobody else had, or not everybody has the luck to have a platform in which people can hear these things. But I did try a propane heater a couple of years ago. I gave up with it in the end. If you do have a propane heater, just be extra careful with it. It's my real big advice. I thought it was only in the house you needed certified electrics. Outbuildings and greenhouses are exempt. Yeah, but do you really want to get electrocuted in your greenhouse is the way I look at it. Electric kills, and electric will conduct through water very, very easily. So you may not need certified electrics, but if you want to make sure it's done safely, if you don't know what you're doing, please do get an electrician in just to make sure. I got a good idea what I'm doing because of my job, so I would actually be classed as being able to do it. But even I mean, in my shed, I have the plugs that are suitable for outdoors, just to make sure that nothing goes wrong. I got IP65 just to make sure. Would a barrel of water inside the greenhouse retain a bit of heat for the nighttime? Yes, that is actually what I do anyway. I've got inside my greenhouse at home, I've got a water butt inside, which heats up throughout the day, acts as like a heat battery, and then throughout the night just radiates some of that heat out. It also means that water, when I use it to water my plants inside the greenhouse, is already warmed up, and they're not going to shock the plants. And it's not a good idea as well to help keep those costs down. Paraffin heaters, you must remember, this is from Stuart Jackson, you must remember to open the greenhouse every day to let the fumes out. I use paraffin heater as my greenhouse is about 35 meters away from the outdoor plug. I thought you said you had an electric heater earlier. I'm confused. But yeah, it's all about safety. Candle and pots. Now, this is something I've heard a lot of people talk about, actually. I've not tried it myself, but they put a candle inside a jam jar, which they then fill with lard and other solid fuels. and that can stay alive for something like 72 hours, at least 24 hours. And that little candle would just keep the frost away, or warm it up enough that your plants should not get killed unless it's a particularly cold cold time. Yeah, Terry Walton was a guy I was trying to think of who had his greenhouse burned down. Him on the Jeremy Vine show, that was it. Yeah. The opposite, outbuildings are stricter regs. Yeah, I'm not sure about the regs myself, but I would, I've seen enough bad electrics in my time, and how that's caught fire or caused some serious damage for me to say I would use extreme caution. If you're going to do it properly. I think I'm well and truly pot off. Sorry, we didn't mean to put anybody off at all. It is a real minefield. It's something I'm going to have to talk about on the podcast in great. We can do this on an upcoming live show nearer the winter time. Let's have a look at on the live show. We've got some, perhaps in September or something. Something we can talk about is how to heat a greenhouse. We'll go into that in a lot more detail, but yeah, it's partly why I haven't really had any heating in my greenhouse, because it is a bit of a minefield. The little paraffin heater I got did not make any difference. I had somebody last year actually on the podcast ring up about this as well, who brought a paraffin heater, and it just didn't make any difference either. And that's why I leaned to buying 2 paraffin heaters. But sticking with seedlings on the windowsills, you can't go far wrong, can you? It's safe. It may use up a bit of room. It may be a bit messy, but it's safe. Cold water when IP65 prevents shock in the part. They're all coming out now, aren't they? Nice one, Ed. Really, I don't dispute it, but I'm surprised. Just about the regulations. I think the outbuildings do have strict regulations. Like I say, for me, I would not want to say to anybody, go and do it, and somebody has an accident. So, yeah. I stopped using the electric heater as, like you, water and electric does not mix. So I'm staying safe. Yeah. I mean, if it's done right, most electric heaters that are specifically designed for greenhouses are usually IP65 rated. They've got a fuse. If you're going to have outdoor electricity in a greenhouse, you want it fused on the trip switch. You want to make sure everything is IP65 rated, just to be on the safe side, and the chances on it actually happening are quite low. But better be safe than sorry, I reckon. You can neither create nor destroy energy. So a candle will only output a candle's heat. Yes. That's a very, very technical thing I can really get into, but that's why that's why the person who rang up and said, or even my little paraffin heater, he didn't put out enough British thermal units to warm up the area. My personal paraffin heater was actually intended for a cold frame, so it's for a very, very small area. And it only puts out so much heat. The bigger the area, the more energy it's going to need. Therefore, the more heat it needs to produce, so on and so on. That's what happens when you try to save money. Try and buy the cheapest thing you can find. Doesn't work. Could get an old-fashioned iron, put it in the fire, and leave it on a brick in the greenhouse. Well, some people do a similar thing where they, like the Swedish spas, where they warm up bricks and leave that in, and that's enough. So yeah, don't forget the good old fleece for frost nights. Got to start making sure we've got this stuff ready, actually, haven't we? we've got to start thinking about making sure we've got enough fleece and ready to go for when those nights really start dropping. From day 4, Mrs. Ford has banned me from using window sills. Yeah, my missus has done the same. That's why I've got this shed set up. I've got electric propagators in here. My shed is obviously, the electrics are good. I've got grow lights, and that's why, because I'm not allowed anything on the window sills. Partly because I did damage the window sills on our old house with these things. The paint started to come away, so I got banned from it as well. But I have a circuit breaker in the house and a plug-in one on the greenhouse. Just be safe. Just do it. Better be pretty. BTUs, kilowatts these days. Yeah, sorry, I'm a bit old-fashioned. I work in British thermal units, but yeah, kilowatts is the technical term. I think I've seen 12 kilowatts. No, 12. Oh, I can't remember what it was. Some of the very small greenhouse heaters are like 12 watts. That's that's the same heat as my propagator. They ain't going to do bugger all at that wattage. Another thing you have to remember is once you start heating the greenhouse, keep it going every cold night. I use 2 heaters when the temp goes under 0 degrees. I think the important thing to remember as well is, do you really need to heat a greenhouse? I say that because I've never felt the need to heat the greenhouse. The only thing it's going to really achieve is that when it drops below freezing, it might protect a few plants. Or if we're off to we might get some of your tomatoes grown a bit earlier. But I had a photo from somebody who had lots of tomatoes growing in a conservatory at the beginning of the season, and they were huge. They were fully grown before they even went in the ground. Do you really need that? Solid matter gives up its heat quicker than water. It does, yeah. It's very, very, very scientific. This is going. It's interesting. Circuit breaker is a must for all activities, absolutely. And I don't have a greenhouse. Problem solved. But the thing is, if you have a greenhouse, you will love it. A greenhouse has got to be one of the best additions to any allotment, any garden. Once you have it, you wonder how you survived without it. And I suspect once you have an unheated greenhouse, you're then going to want a heated greenhouse. So it's 7:30, and we're going to start wrapping up this evening. Ed Loud is finishing with, how difficult would it be to have a thermostat in a greenhouse keeping the temperature steady? It's not that difficult. Not that difficult to do. You just got to remember, it's all about making sure it is done correctly. And most of the heaters actually have thermostats built in. I would knock up a fleece tent for cold nights if I had a greenhouse. Sometimes us humans can overcomplicate things. I agree. I have been dealing with household electrics since I was 12. While I'm not certified, I consider I am competent. Yeah, because I deal with electrics on a daily basis, I'm considered competent and therefore can do electrics in my own home, but I can't go and do it in anybody else's house. Thanks all. See you next week. Yes, right. So thank you everybody for joining me this evening. We're gonna with tool care for next week. That's what's on the list. So got any videos showing how you look after your tools, what you do, anything different, please do get them sent over to me. Get a conversation ready to chat about that next week. I will be certainly doing that. On the podcast tomorrow, I'm talking about growing overwintered or spring cabbages. That's coming out Monday night. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, I've noticed a few times there seems to be a delay, and it's a couple of times it's been a couple of days. Rest assured, every Monday night I always do put out the podcast. So I don't know what's going on with Apple Podcasts. A few people have been complaining about it, but if that happens. Tool care next week, so we will be back again. Let's wrap it up and just by finishing off with what everyone else is saying. Alicia, where does the time go? Have a great time until we get together again next week. And we've got cake for next week. I'm looking forward to. Thanks again. Good chats from Hargrave Gas. Lovely to see you. Cheers, Richard from Ian Beddoes. Lovely chat tonight. Looking forward to next week from Rebecca. Ed Loud, thanks. Been a great show as always from Ed Loud. And another good video, Richard. Thanks. Bye for now. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for joining me yet again. Or once again, as I say, we'll be back again next Sunday, 6 p.m, same veg time, same veg place. Until then, please take care, keep your gardens going, and all the best.